Hey everybody, and welcome to the Drafting Offers Podcast, the podcast where you get to vote for each episode's draft champ. We're realtors from Southern Ontario, but this is not another real estate podcast. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, catch every episode on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on social at the Drafting Offers Podcast. Here are your hosts, Brad Warner, Scott Morgan, and John Fielding.
Welcome back. We are here for another episode of the Drafting Offers Podcast. We got John Fielding, Brad Warner, and myself, Scott Morgan. And we're going to get right to it. Last week was a big draft. Red flags for buyers. So that was an interesting one that got some comments in the polls. But we're going to get right to the results so people can not be sitting on the edge of their seats and can know who won. 12%, 38%, and 50% were the results. 12% was myself. That was a rough one. Second place between Brad and John. Do you guys have any drum? Should we do drum roll, or who do we think won this one?
I have no idea.
I don't know either. I had some I've been looking at the comments, and it seems like it was like really sort of a toss up. It was like up in the air until the very last second. So genuinely, I have no idea.
That's very true. Of the 3 days that the poll's up, it was back and forth between you two. It was separated by one vote until the last day when the 50%er really went to town. I don't know if they were polling or anything. I'm not gonna make any claims.
Yeah, well, you have experience with that.
Petitioning. Hey, you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, they say, right? So second place, 38% of the vote was Brad Warner in your corner, making the winner with 50% of the vote, and 2024 being John's year, John Fielding. Congratulations on the win, buddy.
Thank you.
This is where the cheering will be coming in on the editing. So we'll add some extra editing for John here. But how many is that for you this year? 2, 3?
I think it might only be 2, actually.
Yeah,
to be honest. But
you're owning the wheel of names too. I think you've got everyone except for one, and then you've got 2 wins on your belt. How's your year going so far?
I don't think I've won since Christmas. I think the last draft I won had to do with Christmas movies.
Yeah, you got that Christmas hang. That was a heck of a draft, though, I got to say. But yeah, congratulations, John. People on the Instagram will see a nice picture of your mug, and we'll show the results on there as well. But wanted to wish you congratulations from the bottom of my heart.
Thank my mom for texting her friends to go and vote.
Yes, exactly.
So
we've got a doozy today, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
I'm looking forward to this one. This is one that we'll get to it in a bit, but it's one that it popped up from a client of mine, actually, and loyal listener. They know who they are. We were in a listing, and it was like one of those, the moment he said it, I was like, oh, that's a draft topic. And he's like, you should draft that. And I said, we 100% will. So here we are. But
it's related to staging. We can say that.
Yeah,
it's related to staging.
To staging. We actually do have a stager lined up at some point this year to come on to talk about the value add of staging. Probably would have been a good time to do it this week, but this came up fairly last minute. But yeah, staging is a great form of marketing. So what are you guys seeing out there marketing wise these days?
Well, so something interesting is I have a lot of showings today, and
enjoy the rain.
Yeah. And anyways, there's a lot of rural properties, and I would be shocked if any of them are staged, and I think you guys probably are showing a lot of places that are staged. It's consistent probably with what you guys are doing, but I would be shocked if there's 5 different rural properties we're going to visit. I'd be shocked if we were going to stage, just because the marketing side of a rural property to more of a subdivision property would be so different. What would you guys expect to see for marketing of these rural properties?
Cleaning and smelling good, because honestly, sorry to kind of jump in, but I wouldn't necessarily expect to see a magazine worthy type of place in the middle of the country that maybe has an acre of property, or it's a big ranch style bungalow, something like that. I wouldn't expect to see that. It would be nice to see that, but I wouldn't really expect it. But what I would expect to see is well maintained, because the house is probably a little bit older, and so if it's well maintained, doesn't matter if it's decorated nicely, but if it's well maintained, then that means that I'm interested. If it's not well maintained, things are crumbling, moldy, falling apart, whatever, weird smells, then I'm kind of a little turned off by it. But I can kind of forgive that. When it comes to staging, I like to think about it in terms of what makes really good photography. And so when I'm looking at a cluster of listings on a map and I'm clicking on them and I'm thinking, okay, well, that one has been staged and looks great. That one maybe is a similar house, but has not been staged, doesn't look as great. I want mine to stand out.
I feel every house should be staged if you're doing it properly. Even if it's just a soft stage or a consultation, if it's out and remote in the country and you have a beautifully staged home, there's no issues. There's no thing that's holding someone back. If it's a super old and dated place, anything can use that freshening up. It doesn't have to be a full-blown get everything out, do renovations and paint and do all that. There's some form of staging. And when you look at the stats, talk to any stager, they're going to tell you their value and why staging matters and how it's going to sell for more. And at the end of the day, we talk about this all the time. If we're doing our job for our clients, having a staged home, we know sells for more and faster. So why would we not be doing that? So Brad, that's an interesting question though. So you said rural properties. Are you noticing it only on the rural side that it's not necessarily staging? And then if you were maybe in town in Belleville, you're seeing staged properties, or does it really depend on the agent?
I mean, certain agents are more prone to stage than other agents, obviously. And, but yeah, in Belleville, in Quinte West, a higher end property is probably going to be staged more often than it's not. When they're listing it, they're probably thinking, okay, who's our target buyers? And let's focus on that for our marketing. So a lot of these properties are over 10 acres. They're not just 1 acre plots, they're 10 acres. So it's almost more important that we can see that entire thing, see the entire thing in the marketing side of things. If let's say that it's a horse farm, for instance, right? Oftentimes I'll find like the barns are like perfectly ready to go for us to come and see. And they've spent a lot of time getting that ready for us to come and see, but maybe less time on the house. It doesn't matter as much because the buyers that are coming through there are coming through there for the reason that there is that stall barn.
That's fair.
So it is more important about that than it is the house.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's interesting because like we come from suburbia, so it's about the house, and if it's property, it's usually just the size of the property or what kind of amenities are on the property, as opposed to a horse farm or you're probably dealing with all types of unique products out there, so that would make a little bit more sense. But
I went through a house yesterday that I wouldn't say suburbia, but I would definitely not say it's rural. I would say it's in between, and it has a nice big yard. It was like an executive bungalow. Inside was meticulously done and staged, you could tell, but also the yard was freshly cut. And I mean, we're in the second week of April, and I don't know what you guys, but I haven't even thought about cutting my lawn yet. But it does, when we went there and showed up, the lawn being cut, just that alone, as you're walking up, you're like, oh, these people really care.
It goes that way for the positives. Like if you're doing that, then you're thinking, oh, these people clearly care. But the flip side, if you walk up and it's a dog and pony show, and it makes every little thing that is wrong worse, where maybe if things are put together and you have that one thing that is an issue. I've had a couple of times where people will put like tile flooring in their furnace and air conditioning room. If you're putting that kind of care into an unfinished room, I often find like that's kind of one of those little things where they clearly have put the effort and the love into the rest of their house. You're not seeing a horrible home and all of a sudden it's a nice job in that room.
Maybe they just had a few extra tiles lying around,
but we all have a few extra tiles. No,
sure,
we move in and you buy a new home, they're going to leave the extra tiles. Who else has done that? Like
maybe some flooring planks. Yeah, I've got a couple extra flooring planks and things like that. Some 100%. Stuff in the basement that's just there if I need it. And it's curb appeal, right? It's like that first impression. It's the curb appeal of the nice green lawn that's like cut nicely, and I mean those are the things you're right. Those are the things that people are looking for. Those are the things that people are going out to those areas to buy. In our area, in these urban areas, it's mostly the house itself. And is the backyard, does the driveway have enough room for our cars? Does the backyard have enough room for a gazebo or even a pool or whatever it is you want to do with it? But I mean, does it have enough room? Like, we're not looking for acreage here. We're looking for enough space to meet our needs.
And my favorite staging is something that almost makes the house memorable, like stand out from the rest of it. I have a listing. There's like big blue chairs in it. And I would say the blue chairs, are they perfect match for the house? Debatable for sure, but they do stand out in that house. And I had people come through the open house last weekend and said, hey, where are the blue chairs? Because I moved them out. There's a dog in the house. I don't want the blue chairs to be ruined because there are chairs. And I thought it was funny because they weren't crazy about the blue chairs. They let me know that, but they remembered the house because of the blue chairs.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost like that is bad publicity, good publicity. There's a fine line there. You don't want to be oh my gosh, like they're having to look past the blue chairs, but you do want to be memorable. I do feel how we talk about the staging and how the house looks inside, but we also talk about the pride of ownership outside. I feel like that's a type of marketing for when you're there. Like there's marketing online and through print, however people are doing it these days, that get people in the door. And then you're showcasing and marketing the home for the person that's there. So I find that's changed over the last decade that we've been doing this, because I remember when I started, you were seeing like newspapers were still like kind of relevant, not to the same magnitude because the internet was a thing, but you would still see that house in the real estate section, and it was either your brokerage got a page or there was the real estate section with your listing, the smallest little write up, and then your face, and you were bundled in with 20, 30 other similar looking listings, which you can see things are changing with social media. But are you finding that there's anything that from when you started or from what you can remember that maybe has fizzled out, that's fizzled back in?
I can think of a couple of things. I think what's retro, like what's old is new again in a lot of other ways. Like we're talking about retro designs, retro fashion, retro movies. Like everybody was obsessed with Barbie and everybody's looking at, OJ, right? Because it's like 1995 again.
Yeah, Ford Bronco's back.
The Bronco's back. Yeah, exactly. Like everybody's obsessed with retro. And so maybe that's translating into the marketing world where, this isn't necessarily a real estate thing, but it's sort of translating into the marketing world where the old school marketing is kind of back in because it's maybe a little unexpected. So we kind of went from knocking on doors. Hey, would you like to sell your house? No. Do you know anybody who does? Like we've been kind of like door knocking. I know a lot of people still make a ton of money door knocking and it's part of their marketing and it's maybe what they do really well. It's not what I do really well. I prefer the multimedia. I prefer the digital communications, but we're seeing a lot of people knocking on doors and getting a lot of business from that because a lot of people are now away from social media. They're not looking for all of life's answers through social media anymore. What maybe we were 4 or 5 years ago, and even during the pandemic where nobody could leave their houses. We were all doing everything virtually, just like this. But it seems like a lot of the old school stuff is coming back, more face-to-face, a little less virtual. You guys seen that? Like door knocking. I've got door hangers that I've been hanging out, hanging on doors and just kind of getting out there in the neighborhoods.
You talked about social media, and I think there's our worlds rely on our phones a lot of the time and the notifications. And you maybe were looking at things back in the day where you got 1 million flyers in the mail for different real estate agents or different companies. Yeah. And then you just became one of the flyers, or you became one of the little pictures in the newspaper, where now you need to stand out. So if there's 1 million notifications on your phone and it's all on social media and the algorithm's only showing you 10, 15% of your followers' stuff, you need to stand out. So reverting back and maybe actually writing a letter or writing a card to your clients and sending it, that's going to stand out. Or picking up the phone and calling someone, or driving over with a coffee and meeting them in person. Those things now have become interesting currency that might stand out a little bit more than that little red dot on your on your phone,
on your DMs. Yeah.
I would say that this is probably the most newest aged promotion that I do is the podcast, probably. And I've always been a little bit old school, and I love that part of the job. So, be present in your community. I think that's something that's always been good for any real estate agent trying to market themselves. And you get to talk about your listings,
big time,
whether it's volunteering or simple things like, if you're doing kid drop off, and make sure you're talking to people and I genuinely want to talk to them. It's not like it's a sales thing, or making sure you're being social and active in different things with everyone. And
especially things that you're interested in.
Yeah. You know, and people like to talk about real estate. And I think it's just one of those things they'd love to ask you questions about it. So just be prepared for that and be happy to do it, because I think we're lucky that they do want to talk to us about it. Yeah. And I know that's, and I also do, old school client events. I do I do a pumpkin event, and I do a skating event, and I do letters to neighbors when I'm listing houses, that sort of thing. Like, that is all old school, and I think there's a lot of value to that. But I know there's a lot of people that are doing more digital stuff. Interesting enough, I actually put this in ChatGPT about marketing things for realtors. And of course, I think ChatGPT has a slanted view on it, because everything they mentioned nothing offline. Actually, everything they mentioned was online. There are things where, like, professional photos and virtual tours and drones and all live webinars, all these kind of thing, and YouTube and TikTok. I mean, I'm not crazy about the TikTok stuff or Reels in general, to be honest. It's just not something I'm that comfortable with. But I have nothing against people that are doing it by any means. But sorry, long story short, the second thing on the ChatGPT list was the virtual tours. And I would say this is a marketing thing for ourselves, because we're showing that we're a full service realtors and we're doing virtual tours. During the pandemic, when I first started, doing a virtual tour on a property was a value add that I could give that not all realtors were doing in my area. Your area could be totally different. And during the craziness of the pandemic and people were viewing less properties, virtual tours were almost more important. Everyone was doing it. It was less of like, if I went in and said I was doing a virtual tour, that was not something that was making me stand out compared to other listing agents. Now, again, I'm seeing, now that people are able to go and view more properties, there's less virtual tours on our listings than there was before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that depends on the market. So our markets are different, but also depends on how the market's doing. So when things were guns a-blazing and listings were selling in 4 or 5 days when you're delaying offers, you're now having to stand out with your value add as to how you're going to maybe try to get more, or what you do for your clients. So you need to stand out. But people were spending an arm and a leg. And then as the industry slowed down last year, you see the people that are professionals that actually continue to do those things, know there's value to that, and put that into their clients. And then you see the ones that have maybe been lowering their commission to get whatever listing they could because they knew it would sell quick, that now don't have the percentage points of commission to invest that into their clients. So you're like stagers, we're seeing a decline. Photographers, not as many options like maybe added on to a virtual tour. You're seeing a lot of listings that were maybe taken by themselves, which is just awful. The fact that you can't even get a professional, like, that should be number one when everything is on social media. That's what you're seeing. That's your first impression. And I showed you guys a picture last week. It was all of our photos are wide angle lenses. This person had taken a vertical shot and their thumb was in it. And this house was over $2 million.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? I don't know. Like, yeah. But then again, Brad, you brought up a good point. Like, here, one, there's more real estate agents, so there's more competition. So you're having to do the things. And if you're not, there's 10 other people on the Rolodex that someone could call versus out your way. Maybe certain services aren't as prevalent. Like, how many actual like stagers do you know of that work out your way? Like, is there a good number, or
probably four? Probably four companies. Yeah.
The fact that you could pick a number is like we've countless, and we're contacted all the time from stagers.
Every day there's a new staging company following me on Instagram. One of the I should actually mention, I was going to go back to the virtual stager, or not virtual staging. Virtual staging, that's another thing.
That's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing. Virtual open houses, like virtual tours and things like that. That really exploded during the pandemic because we couldn't do anything. Like, we couldn't go out anywhere. And I actually, the sign place that we used to use, or that I still use, actually made virtual open house riders for the first time. And they were selling them. They were selling them like crazy. So you could just like stick that rider on top of your sign and say, okay, well, there's a virtual open house, no actual in-person open house. In 2020, I think March 2020, the first ever virtual open house, I did the first one of our brokerage. Like, I just said, okay, well, I can do a Facebook Live. Instagram has Instagram Live. I can go to the place myself and I can do an Instagram Live, or I can do a Facebook Live. And the cool thing about that is that, like, a normal open house, maybe we'd get anywhere from 5 to 15 couples or groups or families or people coming through the door in a couple, in a 2-hour thing. But in a 2-hour virtual open house, I can probably have dozens. And that's just more value for the seller. So they're not actually physically visiting the house. they can do that privately. But, for the actual purposes of an open house, showcasing your property, then yeah, the virtual open house, it allows talkback too, right? It's not just a video that you're putting out there. It allows people to actually ask questions in real time. You can answer the question in real time. And so those are the kinds of things that a lot of them didn't really stick around. I've tried to do a couple here and there, but I think a lot of that just sort of fell away because you were back doing things in person. But again, that leads back into the old school marketing. Is it better to be out there in the community? Is it better to show your face, shake hands, say hello, sponsor events, sponsor teams? Like all of these events are coming back now. And so we should be getting back into the community. You don't want to give somebody an opportunity to find another realtor. Like you want to be on the top of their mind when it comes to real estate. They want to be like, real estate, call Brad. Real estate, call Scott. Like we just want to make sure that we are at the top of people's mind. Whatever. Yeah. But anyway, that's what I'm. That's what I
face-to-face marketing. I don't think can be beaten. And in this industry, I admired what you were doing with the virtual open houses. That was pretty creative because it was getting to the point where we weren't sure if like we were an essential service and we could actually show homes. So that was awesome. But with it being such, like this is the biggest purchase people are making in their entire lives for the most part. To buy that without seeing it actually stepping in, like we talked about it last week and the couple weeks prior with drafts, like bad odors. You don't know when you walk in if someone's smoked, if there's mold smell, if there's you can ask you and you can be like, yeah, it's a little musty, but you're never going to know for sure until you step foot in that place. So it's a super, super risky thing to do, which is probably why people don't want to do it. And people maybe don't love being on camera all that much, but
you saw, during the pandemic, you saw people buying things without actually stepping foot in there.
100%.
I would say now there's less of an excuse to do that because someone should be able to go and view it. Even me, I had a client go through an open house and he wanted to buy the house. And I was like, I'm going to write the offer for you. Let's do this. But I have to go myself too.
Yeah, I just did it yesterday.
I went through without him once, like previous, and then he went through without me. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing this offer until we go together.
Yeah.
I want to be together.
Well, you want to make sure that they haven't missed anything. Like they're going to look at the house and say, well, yeah, no, sure. Or they're, online, they're going to say, yeah, it meets our needs. It has the right number of bedrooms. It has the right number of bathrooms, whatever. The layout is what we're looking for, updated kitchen, etc. But you're going to go in and I'm going to go in and I'm going to look at the breaker panel. I would go into the house and I'm looking at it for more of like more of a safety and security type of thing, right? Like I'm going to go and see if there's any smells and I'm like, oh, that smell means whatever, that's musty, or, I want to kind of give it my stamp of approval to say, yes, I've looked at this house and I can definitely tell you that, and again, I'm not a home inspector. I'm not going through, like I'm not opening up walls, but I'm going to go and look and see, I'm opening up the cabinets and making sure there's no signs of rodent infestation because maybe the buyer missed that thing. And those are the things you can't see in a virtual tour.
Yeah.
And nobody hosting a virtual tour is going to say, this is where the rats get in.
Yeah.
You may want to do something about that. They're going to be like, look how beautiful the kitchen renovation is. So
we talked about buyer red flags with our draft last week. And I think one nowadays would be, we got an offer from someone who hasn't even seen it.
Yeah,
especially
that's
if it's conditional. That's
a seller. Yeah, that's like a seller red flag.
Seller.
I know we have to get into the draft soon, but I was kind of hoping we could do an elevator pitch, sized pitch anyways, of what's going on in the market. Because I think it's important. We talk about the market, and I want to know what's going on in Durham. Because we haven't talked much about your market, at least me and Scott haven't, anyways. And I want to know what's going on there because it's coming my way. It's affecting us. So
I don't think properties are selling for more than they're worth. Like I think we're okay, but we are seeing a lot of multiple offer situations. We're seeing a lot of places where people are looking for the ability to do some renovations and create more income, create a secondary income suite. So the places that have a second entrance or finished basement in-law suite that's like convertible to potentially a rental unit, anything like that is becoming more and more popular. I don't know that I don't have a lot of people looking for their forever homes right now. I think a lot of people are looking more for the financial investment because they're looking at they're reading the news reports and they're listening to the financial analysts. They're saying, this is happening and that's happening and interest rates are doing this. So it's kind of like the perfect storm for like investors to start getting back in and start charging high amounts of rent, like paying a reasonable amount of reasonable price for the property and then getting in and still charging market rent, which is still very high. So it seems in this area that there's a lot of people looking for investment properties, like the ones that are happening right now in my neighborhood on my street. The ones that have sold recently have had tenants move in. So the landlord, the owner comes in, they renovate, and then they lease it out to tenants. So just about everything is being
long-term
rented.
Play then, yeah.
Pandemic happened. Rent was high, demand was high. When the demand started to come down a little bit, price started to come down. A lot of people started to liquidate their assets, and now it seems like the investors are buying back into the market. Prices of groceries are still high, like we all know that, but the prices of things haven't, like, it's not like a big roller coaster anymore. It seems like everything is kind of just like was up here, and now it's a little bit lower. So maybe that's kind of what's forcing this a bit. I don't know.
We were slower last year, but buyers were still there with showings. They just were kind of timing things. We then got into this year. We've talked about this before. The announcement came, they're not going to be raising rates anymore. So you saw the people that borrowed from last year coming into this year, which led to a pretty solid start to the year for buyers getting in on properties. I'm still seeing I've put in 2 offers in 2 different places in the last 2 days, and we've missed out on both of them. I wouldn't say it's 20 or 10, like it's maybe in the 3 to 7-ish offers range.
Yeah.
And that's with people listing low. I wouldn't say, again, it was like the 200,000 under, but anyone who is listing a little bit lower is generally getting multiple offers, and they're generally getting a firm offer and selling. And I think what we're noticing now is, like any photographer, stager you talk to, they're very busy. So even yesterday in Durham region alone, I don't have the exact number, but we were chatting in our office about how much inventory was hitting yesterday alone. So you're going to start to see now that homes are selling and people are seeing pricing, even though it's not an astronomical price over maybe market value, we are seeing people getting encouraged and putting their homes on the market. Maybe people that bought at a high that are minimizing their loss or maybe break even now that are trying to get out. So what that means for pricing and for what's going to happen in the springtime, I don't know if it's going to lead to an insane amount of inventory and it levels out, or if it just means there's more action going on. But it's a good market to sell in. And right now, I think people are trying to buy before the rates actually go down. That might encourage more people to get into the market. So it's a very interesting time. And last year would have been a tough time for just sellers or people that are selling and buying. Now is a great time to do a lot more with either moving up or liquidating properties. So that's my long-winded answer for you, Brad.
Well, and notes, we're still over 5% on fixed rates, and between 5 to 5.5% on fixed. It actually went up last week, when that announcement happened. This would be 2 weeks, I guess, from this podcast. But when they did that rate announcement that the rates were staying the same, the variable rates were staying the same, the fixed rates actually went up a little bit too, which was different. And then as far as we know here, the rates look like they're still going to go down in June, and we'll see what kind of effect that has on the market. We all think that's going to make prices go up. We're not fortune tellers. We don't know exactly.
I don't think it's necessarily about the prices though. Like I want to make sure that there's people there to buy products. And if you're going 100%. To buy, that there's homes available. And if people are holding on to their assets, there's no homes, which inflates things. And if people can't sell their homes, that's also a problem. So you just want a comfortable, balanced market.
100%.
And I'm hoping that's where we're leaning towards.
I know in Northumberland, which is like Port Hope and Coburg, their increase in sales there it's been dramatic over the last 2 months. And the prices have been going up in that last 2 months as well in that area, which is something we have to keep an eye on because it will come our way and affect us. But it has been affecting them. Whatever happening in the GTA has been affecting Northumberland. And then, as we're coming down, in my area that I live, like Hastings, we have an increase in sales last month, and it was the most sales we've had in the last 6 months over the last month. And every week seems to get busier and busier and busier, where it's not huge influx of sales, but it is an increase. But some things we're still seeing price reductions in our area on some properties. We're still seeing multiple offers, like it's all over, multiple offers, lots of people interested. And the other one, not as many people, so it all depends on the product, really. So
big time. Yeah. And kind of letting their clients dictate what they want to do as opposed to what the market is saying and what prices are showing. So you will still see those homes that not every home is delaying offers. There's a decent amount that are actually just coming on saying offers anytime. But I find that if you're seeing a home decrease in price, it's usually those ones because they've overshot. especially when people and buyers are looking and going, well, what's that going to sell for over the list price? And there's offers anytime. Sometimes people just avoid that listing without realizing, thinking it's going to sell for 50, 100 grand more.
Yeah.
So it's all about the strategy, which then comes down to having the right person in your corner in order to help you. We hammer this home all the time, but yeah, you're welcome. but it's realistic. Like we're going to get into a market over the next few years where we're going to lose some real estate agents, and there's going to be some that are focusing on decreasing their commission to try and get deals. And they're going to be, like we talk about marketing, they're not going to do the right things in order to sell a property. So instead of just going with your friends, brothers, uncles, dad, you should do your research and interview your real estate agent to make sure that they are qualified to get you the most for your home. And
look at their past listings. Look how they market, and look how they is it a good fit? We see a lot of people getting into the business when things are easy, and then when things get hard, they don't necessarily have the training or the skills because they weren't necessarily trained. They don't have relationships with vendors, photographers, stagers, all that kind of stuff. So they're kind of like, now what do I do? It's not easy to sell a house anymore. Yeah. Why did that one get 10 offers and mine got nothing? Well, it's because he didn't market it properly. Maybe you didn't stage it. And so having said that,
transition.
We should get into our draft. Sponsored by Schrute Farms, the best in beets, the best in Pennsylvania beets. But anyway, if you want to go ahead
this topic for this week's draft came from we were in a showing, and there's just we've seen a bunch of places now, and the amount of things that are just repeated throughout. So like in terms of staging and how the house was presented. So this week's draft will be obvious signs of a staged home. So we're gonna hit on things that when you see it in a property, like no one's living that way. That's a staged property. So it could also mean good or bad, funny. It could be anything. But we just want to know, like when you see that, you're like, boom, staged house. So
and we're not ripping on our stagers. We love our stagers, and we love our stagers, using our stagers. Yeah. But sometimes it's funny just to say like, haha, look at this. Like I've seen this before. I know who staged this house. There's going to be things that we see over and over again 100%. That are kind of funny. And so I'm hoping that our stagers hoping our stagers don't take offense to this, but we're gonna have a little fun.
I'm hoping my stager will still come on the podcast after this. But it's funny because I know right? I know when I'm in one of her company's listings that she staged, because there's a specific thing that I've seen and it's nice. Don't get me wrong, it goes with everything. But when I see it, it's so unique that I go, oh, that's been in 3 of my listings, so I know this one is that person. So without further ado, we're going to share some screen here.
The most electrifying part
in drafting offers.
Assuming you've got the video portion.
Even though most people don't watch the video.
That's okay. Just imagine a wheel spinning around.
A bunch of colors, 3 names, and wow, what a year for John Fielding.
Big year.
John Fielding gets to choose the order.
Was it me again?
It was you. I think you are I think Brad's had 1 win and you've got the rest. So congratulations. Your year.
Is this in response to like somebody saying that Scott has the thing rigged or whatever? Like it's weighted, balanced on his names? Like, because we're showing.
When you say someone has it rigged, there's only one person, and it's Brad, because he's just angry, he just doesn't win because he uses Chat GPT just to get any of his topics. Anyways, so let's hear this order.
I'm going to do it this way. I'm actually going to give the first pick to Brad because just because. I'm going to give the first pick to Brad, and I'm going to take the second pick, and Scott's going to have 3.
Okay, I'll go first then. All right, so I have one right off the get-go. And this is something I see in all the stage places. It's the coffee table books.
A coffee table book about coffee tables.
Yeah, they're always very specific. Right on the coffee tables, they're almost like decorative books that no one would ever have in their house.
Yep. Though I like that. I like the the designers, right? Like you're gonna have like design trends by whoever it is. You're gonna have some obscure artist, some impressionist artist or whatever that's there. But the coffee table.
You would think book. Everybody loves those design books, but no, they're the same books from one listing to another.
Have you actually looked to see if there's anything in it, or is it just a fake prop?
I have no idea, actually.
Yeah, there's books. But has anybody actually ever bought one of those? Have you guys ever gone into a store and been like, you know what? I really like a good coffee table book about impressionist art.
John, we can't keep stuff on our coffee table because we have a dog whose tail knocks everything off, or a kid who's just going to grab it and throw it. So on our table right now has a big box of Magna-Tiles that are just everywhere.
Yeah. Best thing ever.
We don't even have a coffee table because my wife's too scared of the coffee table and the kids.
No, you got to get the circle so they can walk around. There's no corners with that.
Coffee table book. All right. My pick is going to be pillows everywhere. I was in a listing that I believe belonged to Scott, and I think I counted like 74 pillows or something like that. Maybe not quite that many. It might have been about 40 pillows in Scott's listing, and I don't know where it was. I'm not sure how big the house was, but it's probably a good 40 pillows. So I just imagine like a stager walking in or driving up with a big cube van, opening up the back, and just like this avalanche of pillows, and they just start throwing them around the house. Like, yeah, this one looks good here, and then they chop the middle of it. You know, you got to have like a house full of chopped pillows.
I was hoping to be able to snag that in the last round because there's throw pillows and then there's karate chopped.
There's the chopped pillows everywhere.
I don't know. When you go into someone's house normally, you don't walk in and be like, "Oh, look at that! There's some little rabbit ears on the pillows." No, it's boom, staged house.
Staged, so absolutely,
This is why I hate going third all the time. You guys just steal some heavy hitters. But I'm gonna say serving trays. So on tables, on ends of beds, on chaise, on couches. You're seeing
on an ottoman
trays with a million things, and I won't say anything else because I'm not greedy. I don't want to take too much with this pick, but
it's all right. That's good. Those serving trays.
We just talked about kids and dogs. Like, there's no way we could have that serving tray. Like, we have one on our table, and we have to move it away from our son because he's gonna grab all the shit on it. So,
and who in general just has a serving tray on their couch?
Nobody.
Nobody.
I'm gonna go with another one, and this is just like, you're not seeing it as much because it's so dated, but it just screams staged, and it's like the vase with the random sticks, like the willows, and it's not even real decor, but you have a little corner you don't know what to do with, vase and sticks.
Vase and sticks. Okay, a vase and
John,
sticks.
You're up. It's your pick.
Oh yeah, because you had the tray, so it was a tray,
serving
for you,
tray,
and then
vase and sticks. You got it.
I'm gonna say the inflatable mattress in the bedroom.
You're crushing me here. Like, I thought that would sneak by.
The inflatable mattress. With thousands of pillows on it. It's the inflatable because it's not a real bed. They bring in the metal bed frame. It kind of collapses and expands, and then they blow up the mattress and they stage it like a bed, and it looks fantastic. You wouldn't know, and it looks amazing in pictures. It just looks like a bed. And that's that. So the air mattress instead of a real mattress.
And logistically speaking, for stagers, you don't want to be bringing in box springs. Like, I have seen where they were it was high end staging. They were claiming, and it was 2 box springs, so the corners of the bed were very sharp. But you don't want to be hiring movers and stuff for everything. So if you can just blow up but it is funny because a lot of the times the frame in which they're on can be funny, because I've seen paint cans, I've seen cardboard boxes, and you're not supposed to be touching or sitting on other people's stuff, but the amount of times that by accident they don't realize, or they're in an open house and you just hear, "Oh geez," and they're or the kid that they're like, you're having a conversation and they just have that moment of, I need to jump on this bed with all these pillows, and they go and do it, and it's a blow up mattress. It's all the time.
We're not the blow up mattress people. We are the box people of the Home Depot, big Home Depot boxes,
the cardboard boxes.
Nice.
Okay, Brad, my pick.
Inflatable mattress off the board. That's a good one, John.
Okay, I'm gonna go with fake fruit. When you see green apples, and every one of those green apples is just completely glowing, that's a good sign of it.
That's a good. It's a good sign that it's staged, I guess, when you don't have real fruit. I like that though. I like the fake fruit.
Have you seen like fake pastries?
Yes.
Cupcakes. I was in one where there was cupcakes on the weekend, and they had a big bowl on their dining table, and it had what looked like the nicest fresh baguettes and buns, and like one was like a pretzel thing. And a little girl goes running up, and the dad's like, "Oh, no." And she goes and grabs it. She's like, "It's foam." And it was just fake. Thankful, because if it wasn't, like, she would have just touched their food for that night. But
the only time I saw like a fake pastry was somebody from your office listing here in Belleville, actually. and they had their stager from Durham come and stage this house, and it was like staged to the nines. And I walked in there, and there was the fake pastries and everything, because I'm like, this house has been on the market for 2 months, and this food looks perfect.
Yeah. It'd be a little moldy. What would you say is the most common fruit you're seeing?
Apples, I would say, green apples,
Okay.
or what? Like, I guess lemons,
lemon and limes. I would say,
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
first of
lemon
all,
limes.
who has that many lemon and limes out?
Yeah.
And then secondly, they're in pristine condition. Like if you actually go to the grocery store and look, there's some bruises and warts on them.
Can't get a decent
Fake
lime
fruit
these days.
fake
Off
fruit.
the board.
I'm gonna go with my next pick is the dining table completely set made.
I had that on my list too.
I'm just gonna go home. I'm just
Yeah.
all the things I thought were slipping through.
Yeah, no. I was hoping you weren't taking it when you took your tray thing there, Scott. So this is my version of that. It's like, who actually has their dining table set like that?
Yeah, that's fair. That's good.
All the time too, with like the bottom plate, like they call it a charger, right? Like the bottom plate that you put the plate on, and then there's like the napkin and all that stuff. Yeah, I know that's the fake. It's like we just set it in the morning, and then we just come home, and that's how we eat every single day at our dining table.
I like it when there's a bun. There's the bun little plate too, like you're in a formal restaurant.
Yeah.
And the
12
drink.
forks, 18 knives and spoons and everything.
We
all over.
barely sit at our table before we had kids, let alone fully set. Soup plate on the side.
So that was that was your second. So I'm back to me for my second. I'm going to say it's you're going to get so mad at me. I'm going to say it's the fake plant everywhere.
Yeah.
Because we're just seeing as how we're just talking about like fake everything. I'm gonna say it's the fake plants, and I mean could be big, could be small, could be hanging, could be anywhere. Just your fake tree plant kind of thing.
I was in a house on the weekend, and this
right here, this is not real, by the way, guys. It's because I don't water stuff in here.
Well, it's
so
never going to die then. It's perfect. So that size, we counted in and this is not a large home, 17 fake plants. Majority, I'd say about 12 to 13 were about the size over John's shoulder. So just a little pocket plant. But then even in the corners, there was, instead of the vase with the sticks, they had a full blown like fake. It smelt like plastic because there was so much fake plants in there. That's all I got for that one.
Fake plants. That was my fake plant pick. All right, now over to you. There's lots. Pick. Come on, there's lots. I'll feed you some if you want.
No, you don't have. I got you. Okay. It's just those were like some heavy hitters. I was hoping to have a deep draft of heavy hitters, where now it's going to be based on preference. And
it's crazy how that works. The heavy hitters get picked earlier.
Think about it from one room to the other.
Other people are going to make good picks too.
Brad, it's nice when people actually start knowing how to draft properly. This is great. I'm going to say the throw blankets at the end of the bed, where they're kind of like crinkled up, but like over the bottom corner of one, like no one's living that way. So I'm going to say throw blankets
straight and then gathered and then straight again. Like there's a little kink in the blanket always. But I had that on was number 2 on my list. I think that's a heavy hitter. I think that's a big one.
You know what though? When you go and let's say you're sleeping over at somebody's house, they do typically have like that extra little throw blanket at the end though. You do see that. That's the thing is like, I know I've been to your house, Scott, and I'm pretty sure there was a little throw blanket down there.
No, you know what was left for you? If I know my wife, she probably left you a towel.
Right. Yes.
But I know what you're saying. Sometimes if you're in the winter, you might get that extra blanket. But even if you're living, like the extra blanket's usually like at a hotel where it's perfectly stretched across the bottom and tucked in, where this is like almost like, we've just left for a moment and
we've just tossed it on the bed and it just landed so perfectly. In
every room though.
We chop our pillows every day.
I am going to choose. This is kind of like Brad's, but I think better. When you go into the kitchen, and you could tell they maybe didn't have a whole ton to talk, like, because you kind of want the countertops clean, but they're just like, we want this to feel like you're gonna be a chef's kitchen. There's gonna be some people cooking, so they just have that cookbook just open to one recipe. and it's just sitting there going, oh, split pea soup, eh?
That's the you know what I do, and I turn the page every single time I go into somebody's house and I see a cookbook. I turn the page. I don't care. I just no, it's fun because I just do. I'm like, I like this other recipe instead.
Wow, going to Rico jail for that.
They're going to Rico jail for turning the page in the stage.
You might as well drink their milk while you're at it.
Right? Exactly.
What a throwback.
Nice.
There's going to be about 7 people that got that one and are laughing in their cars, but nice.
Drinking the milk. I like that.
All right, John, your 4th round pick.
I'm staying in the kitchen for this one, and I'm going to say it's the neatly organized sparkling water bottles on the counter.
Yeah.
You're seeing that, or you're seeing Perrier, San Pellegrino, you name it. They're all there. Just a nice couple of, maybe 1, maybe 2, sometimes even 3 if you if you've got a really good stager. But they're just kind of nicely set there. Just sitting there, under the cabinets, or maybe somewhere on an island or on the kitchen counter or something like that.
Or they're on a serving tray too.
On a serving tray,
serving tray is very, very multi-purpose.
On a serving tray, just sitting right at the edge of the bed on top of a nicely folded blanket.
Yeah.
Generally Perrier, you're right. You're never seeing like Dasani's just tossed around. It's always higher end. Not even a Buble or a bubbly.
No cans of bubbly.
No, it's gotta look nice. Yeah.
No bubbly
ginger ale.
out there.
No, it's Perrier.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the green, because Perrier's got the green glass. There's a couple have the nice blue glass. Like there's a couple, it just kind of goes with the decor. So it's just
good pick.
They're sparkling water bottles.
Okay, mine next one is area rugs. When there's just area rugs everywhere, because I know stagers, they love area rugs, and I don't know the whole reasoning around it, but there's always area rugs underneath the bed. Every single room, I think it's maybe supposed to add warmth or something. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah, but if it's a wood or non-carpeted floor, it's very common. I always find it funny when they clearly have their template of what they need to do in the room. So they bring, and then it's a carpeted room, and then they put the carpet on top of the carpet.
Yeah,
the only thing I can think of is like, okay, you only know one way to do this, and you can't go without it, or they're hiding something. Yeah.
Sometimes they double up on the carpets, though. You ever seen a couple of layered carpets, almost like a layered dining room table, where you've got like the silver plate and then the dinner plate? They've got like the layered carpets where you've got almost like a wicker or some sort of a utility mat, or almost, and then the other carpet on top of that. Kind of adds a little bit more layer and texture and hominess. It's like the same kind of a concept as like the blanket and the pillows.
The budget.
Yeah. That's down in the Echo
for these
too.
Area rugs, eh? The budget they must have these area rugs. So these stagers, it's insane.
Expensive.
Those are really expensive.
Scratch and dent. The one that has a little pull in it.
That's hosed into those ruggable rugs that insanely expensive, and their whole thing is, well, you can take it off and clean it. The moment you do that, it never fits on the Velcro thing the same. So
that's good to know, because I was kind of looking at those myself.
Great product, good quality, but
is it? You just said it wasn't.
The quality of it is good. The Velcro, like the corners, kind of flip up, and it's just a pain in the ass.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Okay,
Brad's got another one here.
Yeah, my last one is wall clocks. Big wall clocks. That's a stager's dream, I think. A big brownish wooden wall clock. I think they just live and die by those.
Yeah, and they don't.
In Belleville, we have this place called Taste of Country, which sells things like that, and they just must make a living off of stagers.
Probably do, and they don't put batteries in the clocks. The clock's always set to the right or to the wrong time. I know. A big clock is nice. I like the look of a big clock. I just can't have the ticking. It drives me crazy. So I'd look at the thing and go, "That's not the right time," and it would just drive me nuts. But you're right.
Captain Hook from the Robin Williams version of Hook. He hated clocks. The ticking.
I don't remember that particular part of the movie.
You can edit that. Just don't leave it in. That's fine. My only caveat to the wall clock is it's become popular with like actual decor. So if we're talking about signs of staged home, like that's something that I think is generally in modern decor. So I'm going to say that's not my favorite pick of yours, Brad.
Whatever, it was my last pick.
I'm not going to veto it though.
Zero vetoing. I just think we've gotten a little too polite with each other this year to kick things off. So I'm gonna say I don't love that pick, but
whatever.
John,
this is no word of a lie. This is the first thing that I thought of when we talked about staging decor. Something that's a very obvious staging piece of decor. The first thing that I thought of before I thought about the bigger picture was knots everywhere. knots made out of like a monkey fist knot, like knots used as decor. So on top of that, so because we've drafted all of these, I'm going to mention them. On top of the coffee table, on top of the tray, on top of the blanket, on top of everything, there's like a monkey fist. On top of the coffee table book, there's like a knot, and it's either a metal or a plastic or like a fabric type of thing, but it's giant knots just used as decor.
It's just HomeSense spewed this item, and they're like, we could probably sell that for $50, and someone's going to buy it, and then they just put it on the tray, because the tray is the house to all the the tray. I think keeps HomeSense in business is what the tray does. But I know what you're saying. Like sometimes it's the knot, or like the one thing that my stager had, I haven't seen it in a long time, was this ball, and it not a knot but a ball, and it was made up of keys.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Like so it like quite literally was this decorative ball of keys, and I thought, oh, that's cool because it's real estate. And then again, that was one where for years I'd go into houses, I'm like, oh, that's Tara's keys, key ball. Yeah, so decorative knot. So I know what you're saying. You could have that on a table. You could have that on shelving or built-in sections.
John probably picks it up and throws it around.
I kick it around,
100%,
like a football.
he does.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, maybe not the metal ones, but the knot. The funny thing is, I was with clients a couple summers ago, and this was at the point where we were looking at, probably 6 or 7 houses every Sunday, and it was fun because they were great clients. And so we would go into a house and be like, another knot, look, a knot, another knot, just knots everywhere. And so eventually we're like, what kind of knot? Like there's got to be a name for this kind of knot. So I'm pretty sure he took a picture of it and was like, that's called a monkey fist. And that's how I figured out it was called, like a monkey fist. So anyway, that's that's my last.
Yeah. When John's riding the high of switching that cookbook page, he walks over and plays catch with the knot.
Yeah. Thanks for that story, John.
Yeah.
I can go to bed tonight going, I know what a monkey fist is.
Now I know what a monkey
Thanks. Yeah.
Someone brings that
so happy. This is what I'm doing today.
You're welcome. It's entertainment and education. That's what we do on this podcast.
All right. Last pick, last but not least. I'm happy. I thought you were going to go with this because this thing is generally on the serving tray, and it's next to the monkey fist. There's also fake plants, usually, maybe a ton of candles, which that got overshadowed here. But more recently, this like bohemian style of these string beads. They're just like, it's like a long string with beads, and it has almost tassels at the end. You may not know what I'm talking about right now, but every house you go in now, you're going to be like, oh, there's those beads. And I've multiple times with clients where they've been like, is this house staged? I'm like, do you always have string beads just sitting on your couch? Copious amounts of them. And that's the first thing I thought of when I thought of staging things, because it's become an epidemic. I like that as my last pick. I think it'll show well on the graphic after chirping the wall clock thing. Maybe Brad has means to go after me a bit, but
I just think we need a picture. I think we need some visuals here. I can't picture that at all.
All I can visualize is like the thing I had it on my chair back in the day, like the beads on the back of my chair.
The backrest with the.
I used to love that thing.
Oh, the people that would have them in their car when you're going driving.
Scott's a big bead guy in general, so I'm not surprised about the pick, but I don't know. I'd have to see it.
Where are you going with that? What
I'm not going.
Like?
I'm usually the one with the bead bracelets. I don't even have my bracelets on today.
Was that usually like a rated R joke that was undercover?
I am not going anywhere with it. But we used to have shell necklaces, that kind of stuff. It reminds me of that.
Oh, I think you're talking about Corey, the hookah shells. Like
I am not going into it.
Puka shells. I had the puka shells.
What do you think it was? Here. Hookah with an H.
No, hookah I think it's puka.
Hookah is shisha. It's a pipe that you smoke out of.
That's
puka,
right.
Pukka.
I've been wrong forever. I got to get a picture.
Yeah, get a picture. I mean, I don't really know it. I don't really know what you're talking about.
Actually, it's funny. I typed in string decorative beads, and I hit images, and the second and third images are decorative beads on top of a serving tray. So.
Here we go with the serving tray.
Yeah, I mean,
decorative beads on top of the serving tray.
It's
the candles could have went there too.
Okay, like a tassel. Sure.
It's every house you go in now, John. You're gonna see it because
I'm gonna see it.
It's become a problem,
and I'm gonna. It's become an epidemic.
It is because like people are like, "Oh, this place looks so nice." I'm like, "Well, you're not gonna have those tassels with beads out for your kids because they're gonna rip them around everywhere." All right, let's recap. Brad, Team 1, coffee table book, fake fruit, dining table set, plenty of area rugs, and wall clocks. John has throw pillows, inflatable mattresses, fake plants, organized sparkling water bottles, and the decorative knot, also known as a monkey fist. Scott, serving trays, vases, and sticks, throw blankets at the end of the bed, an open cookbook, and the string beads. I feel like there's going to be a big drafting room floor on this one, but let's let John, you had a bunch, so maybe check them off the list. And
I was going to say, well, one of the ones, and I can't stand this at all, but word art, like art on the wall, like live, laugh, love,
Brad
gather.
Was doing that for sure.
Kitchen, blah, 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 farmhouse, all the word art on the wall. My stager doesn't do that, but some do. Gather. Yeah, some do, and whatever, to each their own. Chrome and glass, like a glass table chrome, like the chrome glass kind of thing. You see that in a lot of places. The knots, the wine bottles, in addition to the sparkling water bottles, I got wine bottles. Books wrapped together. So sometimes they wrap them with that tassel. So like a couple of stacks of books. Sometimes they'll replace the jacket, like the cover, the soft cover, with just craft paper, and you just have a bunch of books wrapped together. It looks kind of nice. Lamps not plugged in, just simply as decor, just a lamp right there, nowhere to plug it in, so they don't plug it in. The bathtub brush, the scrub brush and the pumice on top of the tub there. No TV in the living room. That's not a specific thing. It's more of a lack of thing, but there's no TV wherever, right? So
that was one I had. I just didn't know how to I think it's like conversation couches. So you'll have no TV, and then you have these 2 chairs facing a couch, just plop. And I get that it like looks good for space, but not practical as to how you're probably living.
No TV, and then you got the cookbook. You mentioned that one. Mirrors everywhere, candles, and an abstract wall art. So just stuff that's not landscape, not a picture of anything specific. It's just more abstract art because it just kind of goes with everything.
Yeah.
So
generally they try to get, because it doesn't photograph as well when it's glass, so it's generally canvas art too.
Yes.
So it's just straight home sense stuff.
Mm-hmm. And the mirrors, it's like the stand-up mirrors that you're just putting on the ground. You're seeing that. I see. Yeah, that's common. Very common. You named everything I had, so I don't really have a drafting room floor. But the one thing I'll add is when it came to wine, this is more of a local thing. But if you're gonna see wine at a listing here, it's always gonna be Sandbanks wine.
Yeah.
Support the local. Have the conversation.
Sure.
John, you had a good one. You knocked off almost all mine. I've been noticing a lot more wicker baskets just filled with pillows. That's almost like they brought way too many pillows and they were housed in the wicker basket. And there's a spot where they used to put the vase and sticks, and then that just goes in. Blanket ladders here and there.
Oh yeah. That's a missed one.
Yeah, the random chair. It's almost like, okay, we have a couch there. There's a big open space, so we'll just put a random chair.
Yeah, gap filler, just a gap filler chair.
And then more recently, I've seen, like, especially in flex spaces or bonus rooms, finished basements that have theaters, like you'll get the big bowl of popcorn filled with popcorn.
Yeah,
and
real popcorn.
Like, that's one where like I've made the mistake of thinking that it was fake, and it was not. So I'm hoping that the people didn't eat that, but it's sitting out for a few days, so I'm sure it's stale by that point.
It's real, but it's stale. Absolutely. Heck of a draft.
Thanks for those who are still with us listening. Make sure to get on to our Instagram and vote over the 3-day stretch. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to let us know who won. And feel free to send us. This was a good one that was brought up to us by a listener. So if there's anything you'd want us to vote on, whether it be real estate or non, we're happy to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, if there's anything in the industry that grinds your gears, let me know, because I'm sure it grinds mine too. And maybe we'll have a rant episode one time. This is what really grinds my gears as a realtor. So, all right,
thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Absolutely. You've been listening to the Drafting Offers Podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at the Drafting Offers Podcast and vote for this week's draft champ. That's also how you can get directly in touch with us if you have any questions about this week's show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and catch every episode on Spotify. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we can't wait for you to join us again for another episode of the Drafting Offers Podcast.